Hey guys, my name's Aiden. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be reviewing the Barcelona game in Matchday 4. So that was Barcelona versus Valencia home. Well, technically not exactly home, our third choice home, being the 6,000 seat stadium, but it is what it is. We carry on. Yeah, so this game, was quite impressive. I think it was one of our, most important and best performances of the season. I do think it's important that we don't get too carried away because we did beat Valencia 7-1 and 5-0 last season. So they're not exactly the greatest opponents in recent time against us, but I think it's still, a good game that despite I wouldn't draw any major conclusions for, I would still say it's a good indication of where we kind of are at the season now. I do think it does also go to show the importance of having a good manager and a good system, especially with the current landscape of football. You can see, for example, Amarin at United, Potter at West Ham, even. I don't know if you can really chuck them in, but there's a lot of teams at the moment. Ten Hag at Leverkusen, he lasted 2 games there. It just goes to show the importance of having a really good manager and a really good system. And I'm still so grateful for what Hansi Flick has done for us. This game was genuinely the perfect example of Hansi Flick ball. And honestly, I mean, no YAMAL, no worries. Who knows? No, but being genuine though, like I think this game did demonstrate the importance of having squad depth and the importance of the signings we've made this season. Signing Rashford and signing Rooney. In situations like this, I think it just goes to show how important and how good that genuinely was. So, just to put in context as well, I am in my work clothes. I did just come back from work, hence the lack of a Barcelona jersey. It's currently late, and I thought I'd just get this video out as soon as I can. So apologies for not being fully dressed up. I have got my jersey in the background there, the 2014-15 trebles winning jersey. So that is my Barcelona sort of thing for now. But next video, I'm going to hopefully have a proper camera and a proper mic, and I'll be good to go. I won't have to worry about holding this little handheld mic anymore. But we'll see how we go. Um, yeah, just moving into the actual game itself, kind of. I decided to sort of take notes as I was watching the game to sort of have some talking points I wanted to mention. So we'll go through a few things. First of all, one thing I noticed at the very start of the game was with the lineup was I found it really interesting. So obviously Rafinha was dropped for being late, which I think takes some serious like confidence from Flick to do. I'm really impressed that he actually decided to do that, especially with the amount missing and some of the big plays we had missing. De Jong, Gavi, Balde. The fact that we're already low on starters and he still had the confidence and the discipline to just drop Rafinha back to the bench, I think it just goes to show, how incredible it truly is. So I was really impressed with that decision. And I think, having Rooney and Rashford start was a great opportunity for both of them, moving forward into some tough games coming up soon to kind of get a chance to show what they really were. And I do think that Rashford was, really confident at the start. That's one thing I definitely noticed straight away. He looked like he was sharp, he was switched on, he was really willing to, give it a go and, try to make an impact in the game. So as the game went on, we did have a few chances. I think it was around the 10th minute. Ferran Torres missed an absolutely easy chance. And man, Archie Ferran Torres is just something else. Like I saw a meme on Twitter earlier, and it was a comp of Ferran Torres summed up, and it was like this compilation of a bunch of players and the worst open goal misses ever. But in between each open goal miss, it would have a clip of like one of the best goals ever, like Zlatan Ibrahimovic's bicycle kick against England, like Roberto Carlos's free kick, like all these insane goals. I think it's the perfect way to summarize Ferran Torres. Like he had one later on in the game as well, where I think Rashford should have got an assist, and he just completely missed it. I don't know how. And it's really frustrating for him because I do think he played well and he offers us so much when it comes to build up, moving the ball around, being effective, getting the right place at the right time. But when it comes to finishing, man, he just does not know what he's doing at the moment. It's really frustrating. But I still think he did well. Um, and just in the first 20 minutes in general, I would already say that it was our best performance of the season by far. Like I generally think we were linking up well, we were confident, we were direct. We weren't sort of passive in any way. The intensity was high. I feel like we were doing really well. And that sort of leads into around the 29th minute where Fermin Lopez got his beautiful goal. And I do have to say, but even before the goal happened, he was playing amazing, man. He was sharp, he was linking up. And even Ferran Torres, like an example of sort of how, good he is outside of scoring, that assist was just beautiful. I still don't know if he meant it or not. I'll be honest, I'm not too sure. If he did, it is absolutely beautiful. But yeah, Fermin Lopez, like this was an amazing game for him. I think he was definitely my man of the match. I think he came out there and he even answered my question in the last video where I mentioned that we have a bit of a 10 problem at the moment. And I don't really know sort of where we're going and who's going to be our main 10 moving forward, either him or Olmo. And I guess this game just answered it for him. I did prefer Firmine over Olmo, moving into the season, but his first couple appearances and first couple games, he didn't really impress me as much as I know he could have. And, knowing how good of a player Olmo is as well, I was kind of worrying like, oh, who's going to be the main starter? And I think today just completely announced Fermin Lopez and where he's going to be. Also, I can't believe Chelsea put in a 40 million bid for him. Like, that's genuinely insulting. He's worth 2 times, if not 3 times the amount. It's just absolutely insulting. Yeah, and like the next sort of note I made at halftime was just about how frustrating Ferran Torres was. Like, he's genuinely like a good and important player for us, but it is frustrating as finishing, as I mentioned. So moving into halftime, I do think similar to Rashford in the Levante game, I do think Rooney was a bit unfortunate to be subbed off. Um, I don't think he didn't necessarily play great, but I don't think he played bad either. I think, he did okay. You could tell he was a bit nervous of it being his official debut in his first minute. So I think he had a decent performance. And man, Rafinha, someone honestly needs to drug test him when he has that captain's armband on because he turns into a complete different animal. I think this was just a vintage performance from Rafinha today. It honestly seemed like at this point he's just a seasoned vet. The way he comes on doesn't do anything too flashy necessarily, but he's just right place at the right time, works hard, ever reliable, always consistent. It was an amazing game from him. I think he was honestly amazing. And another thing with that too, I think Rashford was actually, quite impressive in the second half. I think he, worked really hard. Obviously, got that assist for Rafinha as well. And I think he goes to show that he does have a really good place in his club at the moment. I think he's going to be really important for us moving forward. And speaking of, moving forward, for me, with that goal he scored, incredible. It's just honestly so impressive to see a 10 with the pure goal scoring ability and ability to find the back of the net that Fermin Lopez has. I think it's quite rare in football nowadays, especially for Barcelona. We've never really had someone with that sort of ability in midfield, other than maybe Rakitic. But even then, he wasn't a 10; he was more of an 8. But like a pure 10 who is as explosive, powerful, direct. It's just amazing to see, and I'm so excited to see where he's going to go this season. And I really hope he continues on this form. Speaking of continuing on form, Lewandowski, man, wow, he is amazing. You know, I'll make a video about this another time, but I used to be someone who was a bit skeptical about Lewandowski before he moved to Barcelona, and seeing him now, like I just completely changed my mind on it. He was incredible in this game. Obviously he's been struggling with fitness and getting minutes back in the team. He had a good break with Poland, and it's so good to see him back. Like those 2 goals he scored, especially the first one. Like there was no need for him to put it, as well as he did. It was incredible. He came on, just took the one touch shoot, bang, amazing goal, just absolutely incredible. And his second goal as well, the nice chip finish. It just goes to show that when it comes to players of his quality, class is permanent. Like there will never be a Lewandowski, I think, that ever loses the ability to find the back of the net as he does. It's just absolutely incredible, and I'm so important. I think Barcelona is a different team when Lewandowski is playing. I think our ceiling without Lewandowski is here, and with Lewandowski's up here. I'm genuinely excited to see. Hopefully, he starts the full game against Newcastle, and I guess we'll sort of see how we go from there. I do think as well. Speaking of Lewandowski's second goal, Dani Olmo, I think he played okay. I think a few Barca fans were sort of overreacting a little bit about how bad they sort of seemed to think he played. I think he was all right. I do think when he first came on, it looked like he was trying to do a little bit too much, maybe trying to win back the fans sort of thing, try and get a good moment. But I think after that, he did settle into a game a bit better. Went back to this whole vintage Olmo performance of just, moving the ball quick, dribbling quick touches, quick passes. And the assist to Lewandowski at the end of the day was, really nice and was quality. And onto another play in the midfield as well for us today. I think Pedri, he was a bit more quiet in the second half compared to some of his performances recently, but I still think overall he was one of our best players on the pitch. And it just goes to show that quiet for Pedri is still a level above busy and in the highlight reel for a lot of other midfielders in the world. I do generally think he's the best midfielder in the world, and as I said in the last video, I think he's also arguably one of the best players in the world, just period. And I think he just put on another performance that was just one to remember. Even though he didn't do necessarily too much, he didn't get a goal or assist. I think the way he controls the game is just something that I noticed watching was just incredible. And another thing I found incredible too was the return of Mark Bernal. Wow, I still remember watching him in preseason last year before the last season and thinking, wow, we have got an absolute gem in our hands here. I could not believe what I was seeing, and I was so excited. And obviously, we all know what happened, the whole ACL injury, and it's so good to see him back. And, came on 10 minutes to go, got an assist within 5 minutes, just absolutely incredible. I'm really, really excited to see how high this kid's ceiling really is. I've heard so many good things about him before he even, made those appearances in preseason, and I'm so keen to be able to actually, witness it. Hopefully, more consistently soon. I do think overall this is our performance of the season. I think, we play really well. Obviously, we shouldn't be too overhyped about it because of the opponent. Obviously, Valencia hasn't been very good lately, as I mentioned earlier. But, I still think it's really positive signs moving forward. It makes me feel a lot more confident for Newcastle, knowing that we can put in good performances and can, fit Hansi Flick's system sort of without our key players if we need to. So I'm very, very excited at that aspect. All right, moving on to the player ratings. So, Juan Garcia, I'm going to give him a 7. He didn't really have anything to do, really, like shot stopping wise. He made one save at the end, which I thought was pretty good. But wow, his distribution today was amazing. I do generally think we have an all-timer keeper in our hands coming up soon. So, his ball distribution, the way he moves with his feet and plays around, I think it's genuinely a lot better than even I expected. Like, I knew he was good, but this looks pretty promising. But obviously, we need a harder opponent for us to sort of really test how effective it really is. But it's looking good so far. Koundé, I think this was his best performance of the season. I'd give him a 7.5. Kubasi and Eric, I'm going to give both of them an 8 out of 10. I think they were both quite impressive today. It was really good to see them, get more involved in the build-up play, especially Kubasi. He was really pinging some long balls, which we haven't seen from him in quite a while, so I was really impressed with that. I think Eric Garcia also played amazing today. He was linking up very well, won a few tackles, won a few duels, and I think he actually did really well and impressed me a lot at centre-back today. Gerard Martin, I'm going to give him a 6.5. He was okay. He linked up well, but I do think there were a few times he did get burnt on his side by the Valencia plays, which, was sort of the only time it happened in the game, and it wasn't really nice to watch necessarily. So I'll give him a 6.5. Casado, I'm going to give an 8.5. I think he played amazing. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I think personally Casado is an amazing player. I know some fans seem to have turned their back on him a little bit, but I think he was, the perfect replacement for De Jong in this game. I think he played very well, and I think we are in safe hands having him in our midfield. Pedri, I'm going to give a 9. I think once again, it wasn't the most amazing game by his standards, as in he didn't get a goal, didn't get an assist, didn't have the highlight reel that he's had in some other games, but I think he still overall controlled the game and still was one of our best players on the pitch by far. Next, I'm going to go Fermin Lopez, 10 out of 10. In my opinion, the man of the match, I think he was absolutely incredible, and this really demonstrated the sort of play that we have in our hands here. Rooney, I'm going to go 6. I think he was okay. He was a little bit shy, a little bit timid, but I still think he did all right. Rashford, I was tossing up between a 7.5 and 8. I think I'm going to go with an 8, purely because I think he had a good impact on the game. He got an assist, and he should have had another assist to Ferran Torres. So I'm going to go with the 8, and I think overall he was quite impressive in sort of the work he was doing. There was even a period of the game where he was honestly running back pretty hard and trying to make sure he put in the effort when he didn't necessarily need to, and I did appreciate that watching as a fan. Ferran Torres, man, this is frustrating. I'm going to give him a 7.5, I think, because even though he missed those 2 chances, I do think he was, otherwise really good. He held up the ball really well, linked up well, got that really, impressive assist as well. So I'm going to give him 7.5. I think if he did, finish those 2 chances, he could have been potentially man of the match or behind for me and would have got a 9.5, 10. So I'm going to go 7.5. I still think he was impressive. Rafinha, I'm going to go a 9.5. I think he was just absolutely amazing. Obviously, coming off the bench, getting 2 goals, getting involved, it's just what more do you sort of want from an impact sub for what Rafinha was? But, overall, just one of our best players. Lewandowski, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 as well. I think, obviously, same sort of thing as Rafinha. He came on, scored 2 goals. What more do you want? Just goes to show how good Lewandowski was. I think his build-up play was also quite nice. And, he's just, as I said earlier, class is permanent. Olmo, I'm going to give him a 7. Obviously he got the assist as he came on. I think he did start a bit rough, but he did ease into a game a bit more towards the end. So I'm going to give him a 7. Joffrey Torrance, I'm going to give him a 6. There wasn't really much for him to do. He didn't get too many minutes, and I think he was just, that baseline 6. Not as impressive. I could argue he was a bit more impressive than Gerard Martin, but Martin obviously played a lot more minutes, so I'm just going to give him a flat 6. But now, man, incredible. Obviously, he only played 10 minutes, so I can't really give him too high of a rating. I'm going to go with a 7, purely because of that assist, and he looked really sharp when he came on. So I think 7, which is a bit higher than I usually would give for someone who only played 10 minutes. I usually give them the flat 6. I think 7's pretty deserved for that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts on the game too. I'm going to try my best to try and upload these videos at least the day after, at absolute max, whenever the games happen. So I'll hopefully be back to report to you guys on the Newcastle game. I'm looking really forward to that. Hopefully it goes all well. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.